I have here today Mr. Chris Rood. He is a real estate investor, developer, serial entrepreneur, based out of Lafayette. Coach, I think you're in mobile home parks, Airbnbs, I think fix and flip. I'm sure the list goes on. Yeah, I see you. It seems like you partner up with a lot of people on, is that business acquisitions or more startups or?
Well, the partnerships come from, I'm just partnering up with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I'm partnering up with people that I've met at masterminds, places like this, where you get to know them, come through my coaching company and get to know them, and they're in markets that I feel like that are good markets and offer the opportunity to partner with me. I'll add value. They add value by being boots on the ground, and I add value by being able to raise private money, coaching them and qualifying leads and just high level mentorship. Yeah. Yep.
Love it. And you mentioned being diversified. What does that portfolio look like today?
So a lot of people would tell you, focus on one thing, and that's a half truth. I've never focused on one thing. And focusing on one thing, if that's what you did the past probably 5 to 10 years, you got hammered when the market pulled back. If you were just a wholesaler or if you were just a realtor, I can't tell you how many people I know, even a bunch of gurus, and I speak all over the country, these guys, they're out of business, right? Because they were one-trick ponies, right? So when I say diversify, in real estate, it's not like you're splitting atoms and flying to the moon, right? In real estate, you can be a realtor and a wholesaler. You can be a wholesaler and a flipper. You can be a flipper and a buy and hold guy. You can be a private money lender and be a developer, right? So what's made me really successful in real estate is that I had my hands in a lot of different things. And when the market pulled back, yeah, it hurt. I mean, Patti and I took a $750,000 loss last year, right? It hurt a lot, but I survived because I had my hands in a bunch of different things and I was in a bunch of different markets, right? So, I mean, she's a realtor. We do tons of wholesaling. I'm flipping. We're land developers. I mean, I got income coming from mobile home parks. I put on private masterminds and consulting. I have a junk removal business. I have a mechanic shop. Now you're probably thinking, how the hell you do all this, right?
That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah, everybody asks me that, right? Well, one, I don't fuck off. Excuse my language. Y'all okay if I curse every now and then? We're all from Louisiana, and y'all from New Orleans, so. I don't have any hobbies. I don't want to watch LSU. I don't watch Alabama games. I don't watch ESPN. I don't play golf. All I do is work. My sport is real estate and business. I work 7 days a week, and I'm not telling you that's the right thing to do. I'm just telling you that's just what I do, and if I don't do that, then I wouldn't be living up to who I am, because when I try to do anything else, I'm not happy, right? So I put in a lot more hours than most. I probably put in 80 hours a week, and I have developed the discernment, the skill of discernment to partner up with a lot of good people, because I was such a dumbass at a young age and partnered up with a lot of bad people who burned me and got me for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and realized that I didn't know enough about people, right? And that's kind of how I developed for you guys. Who here follows me and who knows about me? Okay, not a very, okay. I fancy myself as having no friends, right? Only allies. I don't need friends, right? Friends are the people that steal from me. Friends are the people that bullshit me. They lie to me. Allies help me make money. They bring me value. I bring them value. And when I figured out that you can't partner up with your friend from high school and you can't partner up with your family members, you come to realize that the best partnerships are people that are the total opposite of you, who have different skill sets, who can bring value that you can't. And I've been able to scale my portfolio, my wholesaling and flipping business, by partnering up with people who have similar motivation and similar goals to want to be successful, but opposite skill traits. Meaning, They might be a spreadsheet guy, right? Who here has taken the DISC test? Okay, y'all have heard of the DISC? Some of you have heard. Everybody in this room should take the DISC test and figure out what kind of personality you have. That is huge. If I'd have known about this when I was in my early 20s, I wouldn't have partnered up with the people I partnered up with. You have to understand your basic psychology. Are you a driver? Or are you an analytical person? Are you a cheerleader kind of style person? And when you understand these things, you can really understand how partnerships work. You don't, you shouldn't partner up with people because you think they're funny or you like them, right? I'll partner up with people who have opposite skill sets. Most of my partners, I hate to say it's the nerds, right? They're spreadsheet guys, and I freaking love them because I'm not a spreadsheet guy. I can barely spell spreadsheet. I don't even have a computer. I don't even own a computer.
Really?
I don't. My wife's here. I don't. I mean, I use my phone for everything.
Yeah.
And I only focus on one thing, right? And that's driving revenue. All day, every day. What does driving revenue look like? You should only, as a professional real estate investor, you should only be talking with buyers, talking with sellers, and raising private money all day long. Now, if you have the courage to do the fourth thing, which not many people do because it's one of those things that are, you don't have to do it, but it's uncomfortable to do, and that's building a brand. Who here is building a brand? Okay, only about a third of you guys. It should be posted on social media. Posting on social media is a superpower. If you can build enough followers, because that's how I can raise. I've raised $46.5 million in the past 5 years off of social media.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm kind of went off on a tangent, but that's kind of the question was the diversification, right? Or no, how I do what I do, right? And it's basically because of allies. It's basically partnerships. The cool thing about real estate is that it's a team sport. A lot of people can partner up with other people and still move the needle in the business without getting, mired down in, arguments. And there's just so many ways that you can partner, right? You bring a deal, I bring the money, I can sponsor the loan. So you got to start thinking how you can partner with people. But I'll tell you guys the biggest, and look, I started from the bottom. I started wholesaling, like everybody should start wholesaling so you can figure out how to buy deals. The biggest thing that I've observed over the past 10 years of why I skyrocketed and most people didn't is really one thing, and this is a superpower. The ability to raise capital is gonna keep you guys from scaling or doing what you wanna do. Because most of you guys ain't got $100 million in your checking account. I don't, but I can get $10 million tomorrow if I want, based off of relationships. So when you have that kind of stroke with private money lenders, because they trust you, they know, like, and trust you, they know you're a good operator, and that's another thing I'm gonna talk about. You gotta become a good operator, right? I know some of you guys that follow me on social media, you probably know I bash the gurus all day, every day, because I know all of them are absolutely full of shit. None of them are operators. You have to become an operator, and you have to become so good at this that people wanna give you money. People call me on a daily basis to give me money because they know I'm a good operator.
Yeah.
So I'd say, become a good operator, put in tens of thousands of reps. I still to this day take all my phone calls. I don't have a call center from the VAs in the Philippines and all that stupid shit you see. All those guys are out of business. Every single one of them, I know them. I personally take all my calls. That's the most important thing that you guys need to do, is make sure you're taking all your calls. And I spend $55,000 a month in direct mail. And you know how many calls I take a day? Probably 60 to 70. One day I did 140 calls from direct mail. But we've dialed in my letters to where it answers all their questions. And I'm not telling you any of this to brag, because my lifestyle is not for everybody. Some people, my wife can't even be around me a lot of times because I take too many calls. Like, dude, you gotta put it down. So you first gotta ask yourself, what do you want? How big do you want to take this? And what are you willing to sacrifice to get there?
That's good. And I guess circling back on the diversification, right? There's kind of two, competing thoughts. One says the riches in the niches, the other says be diversified. And if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like allies and people is the way that you can kind of have your cake and eat it too, right? You can go deep and become an expert, but also be diversified at the same time through working with other people.
Now let me tell you why I can do what I do. It's because two things. One, I understand and have mastered the basic fundamentals of real estate. What's the basic fundamentals of real estate? It's how to find a deal. How do you find a deal? Direct to seller marketing. So you have to master wholesaling first. You don't have to wholesale. You have to master how to buy at wholesale prices. How do you buy at wholesale prices? You got to do direct to seller marketing. How do you buy at wholesale prices after you do direct to seller marketing? You have to be a master negotiator. How do you become a master negotiator? Tens of thousands of reps. Tens of thousands. My wife and I did the math the other day on how many calls I've been taking since 2014 when I started this. We've taken, on average, if we averaged out, it was about 206,000 calls. So what happens when you take 206,000 calls? Mastery. Because I can predict based off of what? Pattern recognition. And this is a key word you guys need to understand. Pattern recognition. You should write that down. What is pattern recognition? Pattern recognition is when you've done something so many times, you can predict it based off of what you see here and what the environment's telling you, because you've been there 1,000 times before, so you know that's about to happen. So I'm telling you this, so when I'm on the phone, I can tell you within 30 seconds if this is a deal or not, just off of their tonality, what they say, how they say it, because there's only so many things what a motivated seller says versus a non-motivated seller. They all have the same thing all the time. So it's very predictive. So when you get in that predictive programming after doing it so long, you can get to mastery level on wholesaling and understanding direct to seller marketing and buying at deeply discounted. Because most people start off and they end up getting a realtor and they end up buying deals they shouldn't be buying, they overpay. I did it.
And you mentioned starting off in wholesaling. I'm sure, just like all of us, that was a straight linear path of success. No downs, no roller coaster or anything, right? I'm kidding, but like, what was that like starting out, and what were maybe some of the bumps in the road between when you started and where you are today?
Well, I almost got arrested a couple of times for putting too many bandit signs out in Lafayette. I was putting out 200 or 300 bandit signs a month. I think maybe more than that.
Wow.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Another superpower that you guys have to understand, and I'm not just a real estate investor, I'm an entrepreneur, guys. I was already a super successful guy in my 20s. I had the largest quick lube car wash mechanic shop in Lafayette when I was 25 years old, that I started out the back of my truck in college and scaled it from the back of my truck to 4 physical locations. You have to be an absolute hustler if you're gonna make it as an entrepreneur. The fail rate as an entrepreneur is 90%. The fail rate as a professional real estate investor is 95%. This shit is super hard. So what does that tell you? It's not he who's the smartest or he who's the most intelligent, it's he who is the most consistent. I do the same shit every day, all day. To the point where I'm so patterned in what I do, I forget what I'm doing. So who here does the same thing every day? Good. And that's how it should be. It should move the needle every day in small increments, in years. And the thing about real estate too is you got to think in terms of decades, not years. You know, I built a $20 million net worth in the past, and I'm not telling you guys this to brag. I'm telling you guys because I want to give you real value of how I did what I did. And you have to be consistent over a duration of time, and you have to do what other people are not willing to do. You understand that? You gotta want to do what other people aren't willing to do. Most people aren't willing to work on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Most people aren't willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching and mentorship, right? And I'm not saying it's the right thing to do.
You mentioned getting the reps in 10,000 steps. Are there any, I guess looking back, is there any leverage points or things you could do to maybe, and not take the shortcut, right, but to speed that up or to accelerate that growth, to get those reps in faster? Anything come to mind?
Well, it's proximity to power too. It's being around the right people. When in 2016, I mean, everybody in here knows who Grant Cardone is. In 2016, he's from Lake Charles, so I knew Grant before he got super big, but I knew he was going places, and I knew that's the kind of guy that when he spoke, I listened, when he spoke, it was like, this guy makes a lot of sense to me. I can relate to this guy. He's a 10Xer, whatever that meant back then. It just meant somebody that's works a lot and wants to be successful. I went and put myself around him and went to his conference back in 2016 and spent $20,000 on tickets, front row. Paid $10,000 a ticket because I wanted to skip the time. I wanted to skip, because can I be frank with you guys?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real frank, and it may hurt some of you guys' feelings. Back in 2015, when I got into real estate, I hired some mentors, and one of my first mentors said, go to a free RIA meetup. And I know this is a free RIA meetup, and it's gonna hurt some, and you probably know where I'm going with this. I went to a free RIA meetup in Lafayette, and the guy that was putting on the event owned 3 houses. And I was already a multi-millionaire at that time. I owned a bunch of commercial buildings, and I listened to the conversations they had, and that's not the room I wanted to be in. And I'm not making you guys wrong because this is a free RIA meetup. You guys are better than the average guy that's walking the street because at least you're at a meetup trying to better yourself. The events and places and environments that really move the needle are paid environments. There's a barrier to entry. So when I went into that room, I was listening to the conversations, and I was like, this is not my crowd. And I'm not saying that's ugly. I'm not saying this is not my crowd. I'm just telling you my life story. And when I got in there, I told Patti, I stayed in there 10 minutes and I left. Because the guy putting on the event owned 3 houses. How are you teaching real estate if you own 3 houses? You're not an expert. So that was the first thing I had to come. I got to get around people that are doing big things. It piggybacks off what you're saying about how to skip it. Is you got to get around people that are doing big stuff. If you're running at 45 degrees Fahrenheit and an entrepreneur is at 85, and you get around him and you hang around him and get in that environment, you're going to naturally raise your thermostat. So I said, hey, I'm going to go get around Grant Cardone. He's a coon ass from South Louisiana, just like me, kind of sounds like me. He's from Lake Charles. So I paid the tickets. I went over there. I got to sit by Michael Jordan's mentor for 2 straight days. I've sat front row seats. Me and Michael Jordan's mentor talked for 2 straight days, Tim Grover.
Wow.
Then at the end of the conference, Grant said, hey, I'm gonna have a 30-minute call for anybody who wants to give me $5,000, and I'm gonna give you Cardone you. I said, I'll take it. Me and my wife went in there. We paid $5,000 to spend 30 minutes with the dude and tell him what we were doing. I told him what I was doing, and then he offered me the opportunity to go and show people about wholesaling because I was telling him about wholesaling.
Wow.
So then I ended up doing a deal with him where I paid him to promote me on his channel. So you start thinking, you start getting around people that are doing big stuff. Guess what? Big shit starts happening in your life. So I'm telling you guys that all the stuff I'm gonna tell you today doesn't mean shit if you're not in the right environment. If you're on a bunch of people that ain't doing shit with their life, or Debbie Downers, or you doing real estate? Oh yeah, oh, so you're a big shot now. You're a real estate investor, right? Because every one of you guys is gonna go through it. If you're trying to build wealth, you're trying to make money, you will be invalidated, disqualified, and insulted for the pure simple fact that you're trying to better your life. And if you're not around people that aren't better in their life, they are going to criticize you. I'll only hang around people that are trying to build wealth and make money. So the environment is huge in this game of building wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that decision to take a step forward in a way kind of makes them second guess their decision to not do it, right? Or the things that maybe they wish they would have done or would do.
That's right. People, listen, this sounds terrible. Your friends don't want you to do better than them. Your friends don't want you to do better than them. I don't care what y'all think. If you start doing better than your friends, they're not gonna like you. They act like they support you, they don't support you. As soon as you start making more money than them, they're gonna figure out ways to talk about you and criticize you. Who does Jordan think he is? Jordan's flipping out, he's making money, now he's a real estate investor. They may not tell you that to your face, but I guarantee they're talking about that. So you better be careful who you hang around with if you're trying to make money. You should only hang around people that are making money or trying to make money.
Yeah. What do you think the ROI is on that 20 and the 5,000 you spent with Grant Cardone?
Dude, I spent way more than that. I spent about $350,000 with Grant.
Wow.
I sponsored GrowthCon.
Really?
Twice.
Wow.
I stroked a check for $100,000 twice just to get my name on that billboard.
Really?
2 years in a row, yeah. Because I saw the value. Once I was around, I was like, this is my people. I want to be around people like this. And I stroked a check to sponsor GrowthCon, and then we did an interview on YouTube and talked about wholesaling, because he didn't understand what that was. He was, talking about apartments back then and things of that nature, and it was kind of way over everybody's head. But yeah, I spent a lot of money with him. So what's the ROI on that? It's in the millions. It's probably, since I did that, and this is before Grant got super huge, right? So it just kind of rode that wave as we did a couple interviews together. He started promoting me on his channel, and my brand blew up. Matter of fact, you texted me right after I got off his show. I remember it. I just thought about it. You said, "Man, you just did Grant Cardone's show." I remember that. And but I knew being in the right rooms and being around the right people. I just saw it. I saw where the dude was going. I saw his trajectory. I was like, this dude's going places.
Yeah. Well, it's gravity, right? Like,
yep.
Either you could be the gravity for somebody else, but there's also gravity.
Yep.
Those people, they pull you with them. Right? That success is what's the word?
Well, it's very spiritual. Like when you're around people like that,
it's energy level.
Yeah.
It's all energy, folks. Whether you understand it or not, this reality you live in is all an illusion. This is all energy. When you understand that, you'll be a better entrepreneur. And I'm not here to talk about quantum physics, all that, because I'm gonna get all deep and spiritual and religious or weird, because I don't want to insult people's whatever you believe in. But I'm telling you, energy matters. And if you're around people with a low energy level, with the Debbie Downers and just not doing shit with their life, guess what? That's what you're gonna do too. Just for the simple fact of association.
Yeah. So you had the auto repair business, wholesaling. What was the next chapter? What came next?
I sold my shops. I sold all of them but one to a major, big quick lube corporation. Did good on a couple of them. Took that, I 1031 exchanged it into, a dream of mine Patti and I had on our vision board, that we had written down. Back to vision. I don't need to get off topic about energy, but me and my wife watched The Secret. Who ever heard of The Secret? Me and my wife watched The Secret when we were 22 years old. Blew us away. I was like, man, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So we made a vision board and wrote down everything. That day when we sold the shop, we actually checked off one of our vision boards that we want to buy a beach house in Destin on the beach. And that came true. So sold that, 1031 exchanged that into a beach house, and then started doing real estate full time. Started a coaching program. Then I used the coaching program. I started partnering up with all the best students in the markets I wanted to be in, and started scaling. Then I started making a lot of money, and I was like, okay, well, where do I put my cash? And I was like, well, I tried high-end single-family homes. Before I even knew about wholesaling, I bought 33 single-family homes off of MLS with a realtor, overpaid, didn't know what I was doing, screwed up everything, ended up losing a lot of money on those, sold off all of them, made a few bucks on some of them, and started over because I did the whole sequence of how you buy real estate wrong, which I'm gonna make sure, remind me to talk about my progression chart, because this will save you guys a lot of headache on buying deals and understanding the proper progression of where you should start in real estate and where you should end. Just like you go to elementary school to learn the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of school, there's an ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of real estate. And then there's a high school, junior high school, college, and grad school of real estate. But I was like, you know what, I don't know if I want to do single family homes, but I had to sort of have a tax problem. I was like, I want to do something that's more affordable. And I started thinking about what else could I invest in. I got my hair cut one day, and I picked up a Entrepreneur magazine or something. Warren Buffett was on it. I was getting my hair cut. It said, mobile homes, the affordable housing, mobile homes, the last vestiges of affordable housing. That was the exact title by Warren Buffett. I was like, man, mobile homes, shit, there's mobile homes everywhere in Louisiana. I said, that's it. That's what I'm gonna invest in. If Warren Buffett's doing it, that's gotta be it.
Warren who?
Buffett. Yeah, so yeah. So, started looking at. It's funny. Back to the, what you think about you attract and energy. After I read that article, I literally told myself, I'm gonna buy a mobile home park. I kid you not. The following week, I ran into a realtor. We always talk. He was a realtor. He said, man, I don't know if you'd be interested in this. I don't know who buys this. I just know you do some real estate, but I got this 24-unit mobile home park. I don't know who buys that. And I was like, the hair on my head was like, man, I just told myself I want to find a mobile home park. So I ended up going to look at it. It was off market, pocket listing. Ended up buying, I think, for $405,000. It appraised for $750 as is. Now, here's where I knew I had an unfair advantage. And for you guys that are professional real estate investors and entrepreneurs, you got to start thinking in unfair advantages and strategic advantages and how I can cheat legally, morally, and ethically in business, right? You understand that, right? You don't play fair. He who plays fair loses. Now, I don't mean cheat unfair. I mean cheat legally, morally, and ethically. And how do you cheat legally, morally, and ethically in business? You know stuff other people don't know, and you do stuff other people don't do. When I was doing all my direct-to-seller marketing, I was getting all these leads from mobile homes. I'm talking nice mobile homes, 5, 10 years old, 15 years old, that they had paid $45,000, $50,000 for us back in 17, 18. And they were willing to sell me these trailers for like 10 grand, and they had paid like 40, 50 grand. And I was like, well, shit, I don't know what to do with any of these leads. This is before I owned a mobile home park, but I put 2 and 2 together. I was like, man, I lost a lot of money on those single family homes, and I know I didn't do it right, I didn't buy right. But how can I lose on a $10,000 trailer that's 10 years old that I can get $800 a month on? I can't. That's me cheating legally, morally, and ethically. So when I bought that 24-unit mobile home park, there was 7 empty spaces. Like, I'm buying this, and I already know I'm getting a bunch of leads that are coming in through my direct mail and online marketing of mobile homes, of people that just want to move them, to sell them to be moved. I'm gonna start buying these and putting them in my parks, and that's exactly what I did. I filled that thing up. I went from it was getting $7,200 a month in rent. I got it up to about $14,500. I doubled the rents. And that was the first mobile home park I bought. So that's when light bulb went off. I was like, I'm doing mobile homes, right? Yeah. And since 2017, I bought 19 mobile home parks all over the country. Right now, we sold off about 4. We have how many under contract right now? 3. And we're selling off I'm selling off, taking some chips off the table. I'm gonna sell off about 1/3 of the portfolio right now. But right now, I think we own about 15, 16 parks.
You mentioned progression. What's the progression piece?
So this is super important, and I think a lot of people mess this up, right? And it's, who's read Rich Dad Poor Dad? Great book, love the book. I think there's a lot of missing information in that book. Buy assets, right? It makes sense. Yeah, you should buy assets, right? But no, I don't think Robert Kiyosaki had the whole understanding of, you can't just buy assets, right? Because buying assets is slow money, meaning rental property. If you think you're gonna buy a bunch of rental properties and quit your job and sell off into the sunset, you bullshitting yourself.
That's the trap I fell into. Yeah. They're like, oh, you gotta just get 10 units, man, and you could.
You're good.
Good job.
You're set for life.
Yeah.
Absolute bullshit. Did that, tried that, does not work. And I could give you 100 other guys, people's number that have done the same thing. So the 2007 crash, prior to that, from 2005 to 2007, who's old enough to remember how hot real estate was? Raise your hand. Okay, only a few of you guys are old enough to remember. Dude, you could not mess up in real estate. I was 25 years old. I saw everybody selling their houses. I told my wife, we had built a spec home when I was 21, 22. Our house doubled in value. I was like, we gotta sell this house. I put it for sale. We sold it 30 days later. I made $126,000 when I was 25 years old. That was a lot of money for a 25-year-old in 2007. I took that money and I bought an $860,000 mechanic shop in one of the busiest locations in Lafayette. So I was naturally, buying assets.
Yeah.
But that asset wasn't a rental property, it was a business. Businesses produce cash flow. Rental properties, they want to fancy you to tell you they produce cash flow, and they do and they don't, until your AC goes out,
Right.
until the roof goes out, until the tenant throws dirty diapers all over the walls, until the hoarder puts cement down the toilet, until they trash all the units, until you have mentally ill person destroy the whole thing. This is the reality of being a landlord. I own 750 units. I'm telling you, they're gonna destroy your shit eventually. So when people tell me I'm gonna quit their jobs to live off my cash flow, I can't take you serious. You've been sold a bill of goods. You're being bullshitted. So this is how I'm telling you this story so you can understand the progression chart that I had to come up with. And to piggyback on Robert Kiyosaki, he is halfway right and he's halfway wrong. Yes, you need to buy assets, but in the pure real estate realm, and being a purist real estate investor, which he is, but in that book is more or less about entrepreneurship and real estate. If you're gonna become a professional real estate investor, you can't start off by just buying assets, because you're gonna blow yourself up, because it's slow money. Who here has ever heard me talk about fast, medium, and slow money? This is how I had to break down the velocity of money and how you get paid. Fast money is what? W-2, being a realtor, broker, wholesaling, having a business. Mm-hmm. That's your transactional money, that's your active income. Medium money is stuff you get paid on a 3 to 6 to 8 month basis. That's flipping, that's smaller investments, small land developments. And then you got slow money, which is what? Buy and hold, stock market, larger land development plays. Some of these land development deals, we don't get paid for 2 or 3 years. That's slow money. Rental properties is slow money. So I had to break that down for myself first, and then I was like, well, fuck, I messed up. Something ain't right. Either somebody's lying to me or bullshitted me, or I'm not understanding something. So I was like, why, when I bought all those rental properties, and I bought 33 single family homes, I couldn't quit my job and just live off my passive income.
Yeah.
Right? Because for one, passive income ain't passive, and 2, rental properties is slow money. And it's a skipped gradient. An old wise man once told me when I was 22 years old, think in gradient scales. Gradient scales, what does that mean? That's basic logic. If you don't understand the progression of that, one thing stacks on another. Like this floor you're standing on is a foundation. If that foundation's here, that roof and these walls do not exist. They fall and crash, and it destabilizes. Well, guess what? That's 95% of the investors that get into business. They fall and get out of business and crash because they don't have a foundation. And that's what I had to re-engineer to myself. So what is the progression chart? The progression chart is the manner and the correct order of where you start and where you should finish as a real estate investor. Where you should start as a professional real estate investor is direct to seller marketing. What is the foundation? What I told you guys earlier. How to find a what? A deal. Off market, direct to seller. If you're getting your deals from realtors, you're an amateur. Just like I was 12 years ago, 14 years ago. You have to buy with a lot of equity. Most people have no idea how cheap you gotta buy deals to actually win in this business. You have to do direct to seller marketing. And then it's even hard when you do direct to seller marketing. So imagine when you're just buying deals off MLS at full retail or a 5% discount. When the market changes, what happens? Your ass gets hosed. And that's 95% of most investors. So we start off with what? Elementary school. Elementary school is direct to seller marketing, which is wholesaling. What does direct to seller marketing, wholesaling teach you? It forces you to become a good what? Marketer. First and foremost, you got to become a good marketer. 2, the next step is it forces you to become a great negotiator. Because if you can't negotiate, you can't buy deals. And then 3, it forces you to understand and learn the market. It forces you to understand construction costs. It forces you to understand comps, what things are worth, what things cost to fix, because then you're trying to wholesale deals and you don't know what they think. It forces you to do all these things. So that's the foundation. Imagine going to school and you didn't go to elementary school or kindergarten and you didn't learn the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of real estate. Or I'm sorry, of math and basic letters and stuff. You wouldn't understand anything else. So real estate's the same way. If you don't understand how to buy super discounted through direct to seller marketing, that messes up everything else. So once you understand that piece, what's the next step? It's junior high, you're ready to graduate, which is what? Raising private money. If you can't raise private money, you get stuck in what? Wholesaling, because you can't ever take down any deals. Or if you do take down deals, you take down deals with your own money and you go broke. How do I know? I did that. I used all my money and almost went broke again because I had all my money on the streets flipping houses. Like, what am I doing? I'm messed up again. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm broke again. I'm about to freaking out. I'm like, shit, everybody's talking about OPM. So I forced myself to go to masterminds and learn how to raise private money. That's junior high. Once you understand how to raise private money, what's next? High school, which is what? Flipping. Because now you understand how to buy deeply discounted. You can raise private money. So now you're ready for high school to flip. What happens if you go straight from not knowing anything about real estate to flipping? You don't buy deeply discounted wholesale prices. You don't raise private money. You use your own money. And guess what? You do a couple of deals and you end up losing money and you what? You quit and say real estate doesn't work.
A lot of people the last 2 years. Yeah.
A lot of people do that. How do I know that? I did that. I'm speaking all from wisdom here, guys, all from experience, because I'm not that bright. I barely passed high school. I cheated my way through college. I'm not somebody that's smart. I'm just somebody that doesn't quit. So I almost got my ass handed to me again while I was flipping all those houses. And I was like, well, shit, I'm stressed out all the time because all my money's always deployed and I'm always chasing my next flip to close. I'm doing something wrong again. So I figured out, so I'm raising private money. I started flipping with all my own money, and guess what? I could have 20. I had 26 flips going at one time. Guess what? With none of my own money. Guess what? I could sleep at night. Why? None of my own money was out in the streets. So what's the next progression? What happens when you start flipping a lot of houses like that? When you're buying off market direct to seller, so you got good margins. You're raising private money, so you're not using your own money so you can sleep at night. And now you can scale your flipping business to 10, 15, 20 deals. Guess what? When you start closing all those deals, what happens next? You have a what problem? A tax problem. Now you're ready to graduate to college, buy and hold. Where do most people start when they first get into real estate? Buy and hold. But they don't understand how to buy off market. They use their own money because they can't raise private money. They don't understand construction because they never flipped a house. And they do buy and hold thinking that you have to buy what? Buy assets. And then they get their ass handed to them again. And then they quit real estate again and say that's stupid, it's a scam, or it doesn't work. Guess how I know that? Because I almost did that too. Now, once you have a tax problem and you're ready to get into college and you do buy and hold, if you're buying off market with, dude, everything I buy is Grand Theft Auto. If I can't steal it legally, morally, and ethically, I ain't buying it. This is not to be ugly, disrespectful. I have a family to feed. I'm a professional. I fancy myself as a professional. if I don't buy this thing super discounted, I'm running the risk of not being able to buy her fancy purses, or take care of my 5 kids. So you got to get out of your head. Oh, I want to be fair. I want to make sure it's a good deal for both. No, dude. If it's a good deal for both of y'all, it's not a good deal for you.
And I think the last 2 years really showcased why that's important, right? A lot of people went belly up because
So
they were
important.
making fair deals, right?
Fair.
They were paying too much for deals because the market.
I want to do the right thing. Dude, the right thing is going to make you go bankrupt. The right thing for your client or for the person you're buying from is not going to be the right thing for you. That's for soft people. If you want to be a professional real estate investor, you got to be an absolute savage. Y'all want me to tell y'all the truth, or y'all want me to bullshit y'all? That doesn't mean you lie to people. It doesn't mean you cheat them. It doesn't mean you bullshit them. You use brutal fucking honesty. And my wife said here, he could look me in the eye. She knows. She knows. When I'm at an appointment, I talk to them just like I'm talking to you guys. Ma'am, if I give you $150,000 like you want, I'm gonna lose $20,000. I have 5 kids to feed and a business to run. You want me to take on all this risk to make 10 grand on a flip? If everything goes perfect? Minimally, I gotta make 50 grand because I know there's gonna be a margin of error that I'm not seeing, that I'm gonna lose 10 grand. I'll be lucky if I come out of here making 35, 40. And that's how I talk to people when I'm talking to my clients or and they appreciate that. And I go over the numbers and I show them this is where I gotta be. So when people hear me talk like this, oh man, you must be scamming people, or you're a crook. Dude, find me one person that'll say Chris Rood's a crook and stole their house and then tell them the truth. It doesn't exist because I'm brutally honest. And that's what you guys gotta get out of your head right now, that you gotta be fair. You don't need to be fair, you need to be effective. So once you have that buy and hold problem, once you have a tax problem, you're moving up the echelon of ladder of education. That's the entrepreneur God telling you, hey, it's time to get some depreciation. Who knows what depreciation is in here? Everybody should know what that is. You can legally not pay taxes as a professional. I haven't paid taxes in 10 years and I make millions of dollars every year. There's a legal way to do that, and it's through depreciation. So once you get your fast and medium money, which is wholesaling and flipping dialed in, and you making good money, then it's time to get into buy and hold so you can offset your taxes. But you need to buy out of your wholesale pipeline from direct to seller marketing. You pick the best deals, you keep the best, and you wholesale the rest, or wholesale and flip the rest. And you just cherry pick it. The best ones in the best neighborhoods, best school districts, the most equity, the ones that they're least old, they're only maybe 20 years old or less. You keep all those. And you gotta understand, there's so much I could talk to you guys about. You gotta understand life cycles of real estate too. You shouldn't keep everything long term. Like, everything has a life cycle. What becomes an asset will eventually become a liability. Y'all understand that? So everybody says, oh, I just buy and hold forever. No, you won't. You'll go broke. Because that asset has a life cycle, just like your body has a life cycle. That car you're driving has a life cycle. So you gotta know when to buy and you gotta know when to sell. You gotta know when to take chips off the table. You can't be no dummy to do this, guys. You gotta be, to do it at a high level, you gotta be smart. And you gotta know how to buy right, you gotta know how to raise capital, you gotta understand the construction process. And you gotta know when to sell your properties at the right time, when they're coming into that dip of needing everything to be rehabbed again.
And you mentioned, as we start to land the plane, I wanna make sure I give some time for questions from the audience, but so as we start to land the plane, you talked about taking chips off the table, right? We're coming off a rough 2 years. What do you see ahead for the next 12, 18,
The
24
crazy
months?
part is we're coming off of a rough 2 years, but prices haven't come down a whole lot. I know they come down in New Orleans a little bit. I've seen, because I pay attention to y'all's market. Y'all market got hit really hard, harder than most because insurance. Y'all's market got hit a lot harder. You're seeing a lot of price drops in New Orleans. It's not like that all over the country, so you understand. Real estate is not generalize. This market's specific, and I do deals all over the South, so I see it. I get to see a macro perspective of real estate. So I want to speak to you guys about New Orleans, but as far as what I see in the next 10, you said 10 years?
I was thinking shorter term, 12, 18, 24 months, but we can go long term if you want long term.
Well, we can do both. You sure you want me to talk about this?
Yeah.
Who here has studied Ray Dalio? Anybody know who Ray Dalio? Hedge fund billionaire Ray Dalio, right? He talks about this. He talks about the changing world order. Every 80 to 120 years, you have world order market cycles, changing world orders, where not just a country, but globally, you have a changing order of things. Who here has ever read The Fourth Turning, understands what the fourth turning means also? Anybody? Okay, good. One, tell me. We're going through what's called the fourth turning right here in a changing world order. The old system is collapsing. America is losing its might and its power. We have so much debt. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul. We have so many unfunded liabilities. Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security are all bankrupt. All these unfunded liabilities are being paid by the printing press.
Yeah.
Y'all understand that? Y'all need to understand this is super important. So if you know that and you study, and I study a lot of history, I read a lot of books. I've read hundreds upon hundreds of books on world history, economic collapses. I've studied a lot of economic collapses, the Weimar Republic, the Venezuela collapse, Zimbabwe collapse, modern day Rhodesia. We're going through that right now in America. So we probably got, I don't know, if you look at the history, we probably got 5-10 years before you have a total collapse, because they can't keep on printing money to cover their losses. They're doing it now. So if they're doing that, we have to have some kind of huge correction or collapse. Every time you have a superpower that has a collapse of some sort, who owns the financial markets, before us it was the English, before that it was the Dutch, there's always a major war to resettle the power structure. And you see it playing out right now. For you guys that pay attention what's going on in Ukraine, Russia, Israel, we're going through a changing world order. We're probably gonna have a World War III here soon. And this is not my opinion, or I hope this happens. I'm just telling you based off the statistical data shows where we need a war. So I don't think it's gonna be really good the next 2 to 5 years. On top of that, you have half the country so divided. You have half the country that loves Trump. You have half the country that loves Biden. Neither one of them are gonna give up. Neither one of them are gonna give up. So we may have a civil war on top of that. That's not what y'all wanted to hear, is it? But you have to think through these things, because only the paranoid survive. If you think through all this and you already have planned in your mind, when it happens, you've taken the pain out of it, because you know what you've already thought in your mind. So what am I doing? Right? So what am I doing to prepare? I'm staying super balanced, because I don't know what the hell is going to happen. I don't know when the economy is going to collapse. I don't know if we're going to have a civil war. We may. So I'm planning for everything, and I'm not putting my eggs in any one basket. I'm spreading everything out. The past 5 years, I held no cash. I literally shoved all my liquidity into equity. Like, I was broke all the time. Every time I got a big chunk of money, I'd buy properties, and that's what helped carry my net worth and helped me build a big balance sheet. But right now, we're not in an inflationary environment anymore. So cash is not trash anymore. Cash is king right now. And this is why I'm selling about 1/3 of my portfolio, because I'm getting cash heavy, because I want to get ready for what's going to happen, whatever's going to happen. And I hope this doesn't happen. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the next 2 years. It's going to be very, very turbulent and we're gonna see a lot of probably rioting, we're gonna see a lot of craziness. But as investors, we need to get ready. Because when there's blood on the streets, what does Warren Buffett say? When there's blood in the streets, that's when you buy.